Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and thank you for joining today's incredible deep dive into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins, where even the smallest and most overlooked piece of currency can transform into a life-changing treasure. And in this exciting discussion we are going to focus on one of the most astonishing modern numismatic marvels, the 2006 Lincoln 1-cent coin that in certain extraordinary cases has reached values as high as $3 million due to a combination of minting mistakes, striking errors, planchet anomalies, and unique varieties that have captured the imagination of collectors and investors around the globe. And when we talk about something as common as a penny becoming worth millions, it almost sounds like a story too incredible to believe, yet history and auction results have proven time and again that tiny details, overlooked imperfections, or rare transitional mistakes at the mint can make all the difference and turn what was meant to be an ordinary 1-cent coin into an extraordinary rarity that is chased by the world's most passionate collectors. And to truly understand why the 2006 penny has the potential to be worth $3 million, we must step into the background of its creation, the context of the Lincoln cent series, and the fascinating list of errors that have been documented in coins of this era. Because the Lincoln cent had already been in production for nearly a century by 2006, having been first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and by the 1980s the composition had shifted from 95% copper to a much cheaper copper-plated zinc core weighing only 2.5 grams. And while this change was financially beneficial for the U.S. Mint, it opened the door to an array of minting problems, including plating bubbles, incomplete strikes, lamination cracks, off-center errors, broad strikes, die breaks, and doubled dies, which collectors quickly recognized as fascinating treasures. And by 2006, billions of pennies were struck across the Philadelphia and Denver mints, but within this immense sea of production a handful of mistakes slipped through undetected, and these are the coins that today can command unbelievable values, such as the legendary $3 million figure that we are focusing on. And when we analyze why such coins exist, we discover that the minting process is an intricate balance of machinery, dies, planchets, and precision, yet any small misstep can create an anomaly that transforms into rarity. For example, a 2006 penny could have been struck on a leftover copper planchet from before 1982, or even a foreign coin blank that somehow entered the production line, instantly making it a unique and highly desirable transitional error. Or the coin could display a dramatic off-center strike where Lincoln's portrait is missing part of his face, or the reverse memorial is cut off with a blank crescent-shaped area that makes the coin stand out. Or it could show a double strike where the coin is struck once, ejected improperly, and struck again slightly offset, resulting in two overlapping impressions. Or even more spectacular, a double denomination error where a 1-cent coin was struck over a dime or another coin blank altogether, creating a surreal appearance that collectors absolutely prize. And then we have the famous double die varieties, which can cause inscriptions like Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," or the date 2006 to appear doubled and dramatic. And such bold varieties are always sought after by serious numismatists because they are visually impressive and clearly noticeable without magnification, which makes them even more appealing. And then we cannot overlook die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly outlines of the opposite design on the coin's surface. Another rare but fascinating mistake that can elevate value. And when these errors occur on a 2006 penny and are preserved in high-grade condition such as mint state or even proof-like surfaces, the demand can skyrocket because collectors recognize the scarcity and uniqueness. And when you combine all these possible anomalies with the huge number of coins produced in 2006, it is statistically likely that only a tiny handful exist in such extraordinary forms. And scarcity is the fundamental driver of value, because when a coin is one of a kind or only one of a few known examples in the world, collectors will battle fiercely at auctions to secure it, pushing the price into the millions. And this is how we arrive at the legendary $3 million 2006 1-cent, a coin that represents not just a piece of everyday currency but a perfect storm of rarity, condition, demand, and human fascination with owning something unique. And when we think about the possibilities, it becomes even more exciting, because such a coin could be sitting unnoticed in a coin jar, in an old bank roll, or even in pocket change right now, waiting to be discovered by someone with a sharp eye. And imagine the thrill of realizing that a coin you thought was worth only 1 cent could actually change your life forever, buying houses, cars, or setting up a financial future. That is the magic of error coins, and why stories of valuable pennies never fail to capture the imagination. And when collectors discuss the 2006 penny worth millions, they point out that it could be the result of several factors coming together, such as an extraordinary error combined with immaculate preservation and authenticated by top grading services like PCGS or NGC, which certify the rarity and assign a high grade that adds even more to the value. And think of how few coins survive in uncirculated condition, given that pennies are generally tossed around, handled, and quickly worn down. So when an error coin is found in pristine condition, it is even rarer and more valuable. And we must also remember that coins are not just metal discs but artifacts of history, symbols of human error and chance that collectors deeply appreciate. And a 2006 penny with rare mistakes tells a story of how massive industrial production can still produce miracles of rarity, and collectors pay not just for the coin but for that story, for the bragging rights of owning what no one else owns, and for the tangible proof that treasure can be found in the most ordinary of places. And so when we bring all of this together, we understand why a 2006 penny could be worth $3 million, because rarity, demand, condition, story, and fascination converge into an irresistible force that drives collectors to pay unimaginable sums. And this is why coin hunting continues to inspire millions around the world, because the possibility that a simple coin could change your life is real. And the 2006 Lincoln cent stands as a shining example of that dream, a reminder to always check your change carefully and never underestimate the smallest denomination, because sometimes the tiniest coin holds the biggest surprises and the greatest rewards. And the $3 million 2006 penny is proof that miracles in numismatics are always possible for those who dare to look closely and believe in the magic of hidden treasure. Last 1983 D1 cent coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today in another fascinating and exciting journey into the world of coins, where we explore how something as small and common as a 1-cent piece can actually turn into a treasure worth millions. And in this episode we are going to talk about one of the most legendary and mysterious pennies of the modern era, the 1983 D Lincoln cent. A coin that has shocked collectors and experts with the possibility of being worth as much as $2 million because of the rare and incredible errors and mistakes that can be found on it. And before we dive deep into the details of what makes this coin so valuable, let me set the stage for you, because most people never think twice about pennies. They pass them along in change, they throw them into jars, or they even leave them on counters. But in the world of numismatics, pennies can hold secrets that change lives. And the 1983 D1 cent is the perfect example of how something so ordinary can be transformed into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And the reason why the 1983 D penny is so significant lies in its timing, because in 1982 the US Mint made one of the most important changes in coinage history by switching the composition of the penny from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc, reducing the weight from 3.11 grams to 2.5 grams. And this transition created the perfect storm for all kinds of minting errors, transitional mistakes, and anomalies. And by 1983 the Mint was still adjusting to the new composition while producing billions of pennies, and it was during this massive production that some mistakes slipped through which would later become incredibly valuable. And when we talk about the 1983 D penny being worth up to $2 million, we are talking about rare examples that show transitional planchet errors, doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchets, and other anomalies that are so rare that collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums to own them. And let's first talk about the transitional errors, because these are the most famous when it comes to 1983. For example, some 1983 pennies were accidentally struck on leftover copper planchets instead of the intended zinc ones, and when a coin like that is discovered and authenticated, it becomes instantly legendary because only a handful of them exist, and they represent a major transition in US coinage history. And if such a coin happens to be a Denver minted 1983 D with copper composition, it would be beyond rare, and depending on condition it could command up to $2 million in value at auction. And then we must also consider the possibility of double die obverse errors, where the inscriptions like "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date 1983 itself appear doubled, which are dramatic and visually striking mistakes that collectors absolutely crave. And such double die examples are known to bring huge premiums because they are clearly noticeable without magnification and thus excite even casual collectors. And then we have off-center strikes, which occur when the planchet is not properly seated in the coining chamber, resulting in coins that can show anywhere from a slight misalignment to dramatic errors where half of Lincoln's portrait is missing and a blank crescent shows on the coin. and the more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable it becomes. And then there are broad strikes where the collar die fails and the coin spreads out wider than usual with no defined rim, creating an unusual shape that collectors value. And then we cannot forget about double strikes where the coin is struck once, ejected improperly, and struck again leaving overlapping images, or even the rarer double denomination errors where a penny is struck over another coin like a dime or even a foreign coin planchet, creating surreal and unique pieces that are highly prized. And another incredible error that sometimes appears in 1983. Cents or die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghost-like impressions of Lincoln's bust on the reverse or parts of the memorial on the obverse, and such coins are always exciting to collectors. And then there are repunched mint marks where the D mint mark was applied more than once by hand and slightly misaligned, leaving traces of doubling or tripling that collectors hunt for. And when you combine all of these possible errors with the massive mintage of 1983 D pennies, you realize that while billions were made, only a tiny fraction could contain these spectacular mistakes, making them incredibly rare and desirable. And rarity is the key driver of value in coin collecting, because when there are only a few known examples in existence, collectors and investors will compete fiercely at auctions, driving the price into the millions. And this is why stories of 1983 D pennies worth up to $2 million are not only believable but very real possibilities in the numismatic world. And when we also consider the role of grading and condition, it becomes clear why some examples soar to such incredible values, because if a rare 1983 D error penny is found in mint state condition with little to no wear and graded by top services like PCGS or NGC, it becomes even more desirable, since collectors love pristine coins. And think about how many pennies are spent, tossed around, or worn down in circulation. So when a coin with a rare error survives in perfect condition, it is like winning the lottery. And then we also must appreciate the human fascination with owning something unique, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying history, rarity, and the bragging rights of owning something no one else has. And that is why these coins command such extraordinary premiums. And the 1983 D penny represents one of the most exciting modern rarities because it sits at the crossroads of a major historical transition in composition. It comes from a mint known for large production numbers, and it includes some of the most spectacular error types ever seen. And when you put all that together, you can easily see how its value can climb into the millions. And imagine the thrill of someone casually going through a jar of coins, spotting a 1983 D penny that feels a little heavier or looks a little different, and later discovering that it is one of the rare transitional copper planchet errors worth millions. Such stories have happened before and they will continue to happen, which is why coin hunting remains such a fascinating hobby, because the possibility that treasure lies hidden in plain sight keeps people searching. And the 1983 D penny worth $2 million is the ultimate example of this dream, a reminder that even the smallest coin can hold incredible value if it carries the right mistakes. And so as we explore all the errors, mistakes, and possibilities of this legendary coin, we realize that it is not just about metal and minting, it is about history, chance, rarity, and the human drive to find and preserve treasures. And that is why the 1983 D1 cent has become a star in the numismatic world, commanding values that make headlines and inspiring countless people to look more closely at their change. And the story of the 1983 D penny worth millions will continue to inspire, because it shows us that sometimes the most ordinary things can be the most extraordinary if we only take the time to notice them. And this is why we celebrate it as one of the great modern rarities, a coin that proves that mistakes can become masterpieces and that even a penny can be worth a fortune. So never underestimate the power of paying attention to details, because your next coin find could be the one that changes everything.